Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And really cool friend coming in today. You'll know Bobby Burrell from all different kinds of places, and we'll talk about his qualifications, but he is a card expert. And always love to get people who have expertise on the channel. And so we're going to talk about the Maple Crispette baseball set and also the hockey set from 1923 or 25. It's a mystery we're going to solve. And hopefully in the future, we'll start having Bobby come on to talk about other Canadian issues. But we're going to cover Crispette this morning. And let me bring him out. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. So I guess we haven't really known each other very long. I don't know that we know each other really that well at all, but I have been watching you now for quite a while on the Friday Night Lives with
Yep.
with Carlos and the Because I'm Carlos channel.
hmm
And you and I have sort of exchanged through when I was appeared on the channel and also like in the chat, sort of baseball stuff. And I think
Sure.
there's been kind of this thing that led up to a suggestion that you come on the show and talk about Canadian issues, which I'm really happy you did. So, welcome aboard. How are you?
Oh, everything's going well. It's nice to. I'm mostly hockey, but for Canadian non-sports and other Canadian companies, even baseball, football, whatever it is, I actually cover the gamut of that too as well. I do U.S. tops, so PG. I do a lot of everything, but my specific, I guess, expertise lies in vintage hockey. But I
Right.
have delved into the history of all the companies behind those ones that issued cards. And when they issued a baseball set, I would cover that too, in a sense that I would learn more about
Yeah.
the baseball set. And actually, that'll go very well with the Maple Crispette because of the hockey and the baseball together. And we'll see where we come up with the right year, as you were
I,
saying.
we'll get into that. I got some theories, but I called you an expert, and I know that you have been published multiple different times. So tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that's come out with your byline on it.
Well, actually, I've written three books. One in 2003, which was really the introduction. It's hard to believe back in 2003 that most people didn't really know a lot about all the wrappers, the boxes, and the sets that were related to them. So I actually did a wax pack hockey collector's guide, and that was in 2003. And then, I started to get into the research part of it back in the mid 90s. I came back more into collecting, but I really wanted to get into the history because I was wondering, what year is this? Is this right? It doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. And then I'd find some things that are errors and I want to correct them, but there was no format to correct them. So you have to write your own book. It's 2003. The internet isn't the internet as we know it today. And then I kept going. It was the trickle, flow, flood. And then in 2006, I came up with a large picture book, mainly of all hockey cards from 1910 to 1990. But it also included food issue and some merchandise at that time. And I was showing large pictures of things that most people hadn't seen before. So affectionately, we call that the Playboy book, because it's a lot of pictures and a little bit of writing. So, and
No
then
one's there for
after
the
another.
art.
Yeah, no one was there for the art. Well, I can give you a quick show here, Dan, and this was my second book. This one here.
All
It's
right, just
actually
remember this is
quite
this is a
large.
family show.
Yes, I
There
know.
we go.
This is hockey
Oh,
porn at its best. So there you go.
beautiful.
So it was large
Beautiful.
pictures and stuff that people hadn't seen
Yep.
before, like food, especially
hmm
food issue, because everybody knew cards. You had Beckett and what have you. Actually, I wrote for Beckett in what was it, in 2008 and 2009, and I also wrote for the Canadian Sports Magazine. I had a byline for a monthly in 2007 8, and that's the Canadian sort of Beckett. I've written probably 100 articles, various articles between those publications and online and what have you. And then in 2015, I came up with my last book, so to speak. It's called The Vintage Hockey Collector, and basically, where this book did not have the lists,
Right.
it only had the price of a set or something like that. There was a lot of corrections needed, so I did the full lists of all the food issue, all the cards, all the merchandise, and that's where everything kind of came together. It was a culmination of my repository of all the information in my computer. I can't tell you how many hundreds of gigs that I have in miscellaneous hockey and non-sports as well. You know, my expertise in non-sports. But once you start covering something, you kind of delve into, you know, a lot of companies did sports and non-sports together. So I would cover both aspects, and baseball and football and basketball and whatever. We didn't have much basketball here, but supposedly it was starting in Canada. So,
yeah, Toronto.
Anyways.
The first NBA game was in Toronto. And then the Knicks
I have no idea. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's what I do. You know, that's the fun I have is every morning is a treasure hunt, and I love waking up to that treasure hunt. But I also really like satisfying issues that haven't been documented or properly. So I love fixing things and researching things. That's really part of I used to be a huge collector, and now I collect information. And I'm trying to rectify things and educate the collectors. You know, we see so many things on eBay. The guy's got like 800 on it, and another guy has 400. But the other guy who sees that, he's going to put his at 4 and 8, and it's only a $200 item. But they're just following, you know, the donkey here. Right. So if we have the right information, then you know what the price can be or should be. So since that time period, I'll just continue on into the app. And then after 2015, perfect timing. Sorry. So a friend of mine, Andy, who is the CFL of me, we've been friends for 20-something years, and, you know, through the hobby and stuff like that. Like you're saying, we don't know each other too well, but through the hobby, you know, a few months, you pretty much, we know, you know. So the app, my friend Andy called me and said, do you want to do an app? And I said, no. I said, no, I finished the book. It takes a long time, because actually I self-published everything. So I did all the artwork, everything, except the printing, obviously. I had to send that out. And I said no. But then a year later, you know, I was finding new information. I constantly do. Less now, but more back then. And I said, okay, let's do it. So I thought I'd be finished in a few months. Here's the information. I'll send you all my files. And 8 years later, we finally released it. And that's been a year and a half ago now. So it's been running well. Andy is a code writer, so he has written the app. That's why he said you want to do an app. So we didn't have to pay the hundreds of thousands of dollars it would cost you to do an app.
Yeah.
Andy did it all by himself with some help, and I keep sending him stuff. We'll be updating for the next. I'll be dead by then. I'll never stop updating, because it never ends. There's always a turn in a corner that you never know that you'll find another piece of information, and that's kind of a good thing.
It's like collecting, you know. I mean, you complete a set, but you never really complete a set, because you're always getting upgrades and changing stuff. And same thing with a collection. You know, there's always new cards. But what is the app called, and where can we find it?
The app is called Needham, which is a take on Gotham Needham, and it's spelled Needum. Different way of spelling it. And that's needham.com. It's in the App Store. It is a pay site. It is $5 a month or $30 for 6 months. So that's about as cheap as an app you can get for the amount of information in there.
So we decided to talk about one specific set today, and it's a baseball set. And some of my pre-war collectors are going to be happy that we are tackling this set, because you don't hear much about it. It's the Maple Crispette set. So let's talk about what exactly is Maple Crispette, or was Maple Crispette?
The redheaded stepchild of the hockey, the baseball issue for Canada. Yeah, Maple Crispette was a company started just at the turn of the century. They did miscellaneous confections, but more so into the later part of the teens and 20s. They were also suppliers, so they would distribute ice cream cone from Robinson. Well, that's a big company here, so they would be the distributor, because back then you would want to distribute. The distributing chain in Canada was very linear, so you have Canada's very long. It's, you know, so you would have different ways of piggybacking onto somebody else who's already distributing. You say, hey, listen, I'd like to get my stuff out there. If you would take it as a supplier, you're already shipping out to, you know, BC out there. That's a long track back in the 20s. You know, it wasn't, there was no flights in and out every day. So that's what basically Maple Crispette was. They got more into popcorn, and popcorn actually was very popular. Even prior to the to 1900, there was things called popcorn balls. Popcorn was very popular. It was a cheap product, and it was very easy to manipulate. You know, you add some molasses to it, it sticks together. Kids love it, grab it. You know, so and little they made these little satchels.
It's basically
it is Cracker Jack.
Yeah.
It is definitely.
So you've got and we'll talk about Cracker Jack's essentially popcorn with molasses. So
molasses and some peanuts, yeah, and you never got many peanuts.
Well, the peanuts too, but you'll get back. We hear molasses a little bit later, but let me show you. You sent me some really fascinating photographs of some really old stuff that you never see. So let's talk about this, which is terrific. Now how do you find stuff like this?
Many years ago, I found out that there was magazines out there and news articles. So I went down to the Rare Book Library in Toronto. It's called the Fisher Library. And what you would have to do is you could request old magazines, old books that they have in their archives. It would take, honestly, about 40 minutes to get your stuff, because you have to fill it out, and then you'd have to give it to the guy, and those guys don't work you see them pushing the cart around getting your stuff in. slow. You have to wear white gloves, no pens or pencils around, so it was a very high-end kind of place that you for research. So I found the Canadian Grocer had some great information on old hockey, but while I was going through them, I went from 1900 right up through to 1970 something, and I found that they were the advertisers for the retailers, not to the consumer, but to the retailers. So you would put an ad in if you were a company such as Maple Crispette. You would advertise, "Hey, carry our product in your store," and these ads are from that. And this other ad says that the first ad there, HP Pennock, but you were saying there was somebody in baseball named something Pennock, right?
We'll look at the checklist for the baseball set. Has Herb Pennock, who was a Hall of Fame pitcher for the Yankees at the time.
Was he related to this set? Is interesting.
I don't know. Hard to say. Possible.
So this just actually Maple Crispette was a Montreal-based company. Now we can see from the advertisement that they had jobbers, and they would distribute their products to places to the west of Ontario and west. I don't see any East Coast advertisements, but it seems like it was sort of a nationwide. I would imagine the baseball and the hockey are nationwide in that sense.
And then on the right, you've got their what looks like their sort of Cracker Jack. It says toasted popcorn with peanuts, a prize in every package. So for 5 cents,
that's Cracker Jack, really.
John Bull.
And John Bull, the famous John Bull from England, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of whatever he was. I can't remember. So
now they
and here's other products.
Sweetheart Marshmallows, the John Bull popcorn that we just talked about, and Tootsie Kisses. I don't know what that is, but Tootsie Rolls is the American, like sort of it's like a waxy chocolate thing. Not very good.
Or maybe like those Halloween candies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like the candy
taffy.
corn. Yeah.
Something like that. So everything was 5 cents.
Yeah, 5 cents. That's pretty good.
But as we note here, is you can see that there's a prize in every package.
Yes.
So be it a little toy. So it's exactly like Cracker Jack. It's the Canadian Cracker Jack, I guess we can say. Because I think Cracker Jack goes prior to 1900, does it not?
I don't know. I haven't looked into Cracker Jack. Haven't done that show yet.
Next time. So this is sort of, the Canadian Cracker Jack, except they had other products like marshmallows and other sweets and confections, obviously. So,
and they had this, which is cool because and we'll get into this in the next slide. This is like a Little Red Riding Hood sort of thing of carrying your satchel with the bag on it. It's filled with popcorn. Better than candy. I agree with that. It's better than candy.
And it says big, but realistically, it's no bigger than your two hands.
Really?
It looks big. You think you're carrying this big, I don't know, what do they call those lunch things? It's not. It's actually a very small bag. It is only 5 cents, is it not? Does it say there? I can't read it from here.
Does it
The
say
screen is
5
a little
cents?
small.
I can't see it. It's a little small, but so we move
Yeah.
on to this. So, and we'll get into this because Maple Crispette doesn't survive the 1920s.
No, it does
And
not.
so
It does not. But somebody
and-
does pick up as their
so-
as their champion. So,
So what are we looking
but
at
maybe
here?
we should come back to that one. Well, those are the little satchels. Those little satchels,
Right.
honestly, are no bigger than this with the handle. It's not much
Right.
popcorn, honestly. It's like for 5 cents, you got maybe 2 handfuls if you're lucky, 3 or 4 if you're a kid. The stuff we get in today at a movie, that's a satchel, but it would be just a small percentage of that. Very, very small. It's actually quite surprising because I've owned actually both of these, and it's just a tiny little bit of popcorn you could get in there. It's just enough for 5 cents, I guess. But they did have different flavors. There was Tutti Frutti and strawberry, and as we can see, a lot of that is reminiscent of the baseball and hockey cards having those different colored stains on them.
Yep.
So it does match up.
So in either 1923, 24, or 25, which we'll clear up, there's a baseball set, and it has 30 cards. I'll pull up the TCDB checklist a little bit later, but I have to share my screen for that. But let's get through the slides first. So there's 30 players,
Sure.
including both Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb. Those are very expensive cards, but a bunch of other players. I think the number I got on Hall of Famers was 14. So you've got like Pennock, you got Wade Hoyt. Let me see, who else do we have in this set? Pie Trainers in the set, Eddie Collins.
Eddie Collins.
These are first Casey Stengel, Roger Peckinpah, and Walter Johnson. So what happens is they release these cards in a year. we'll establish at some point. And there's a checklist, and all the players exist. And, it's not the most glamorous set, but for pre-war, I think it's pretty cool with these all these portraits. So I did mention card number 15, Casey Stengel. What do you know about that?
Well, I heard there's only one known. And Casey Stengel is number 15, so halfway through the set. Now, obviously, the hockey was done a 30-card set as well, and number 15 is the short print in the hockey set as well, and that is Sprague Cleghorn. So there's 2 known of Sprague Cleghorn and 1 known of Casey Stengel.
And so the theory is, and it's probably true, that it was intentionally held back or underprinted so that kids would not be able to complete the 30 cards, because if you got the 30 cards and you sent it in, there was a prize, and we'll get to that because I have one of these cards to show on the back.
Well, it was the unscrupulous 20s because that happened a lot with Canadian issues. Yeah.
So let's move forward. So those are the 30 players. Now this is my example. I do have one card from this set. It is Emil Musel, who was otherwise known as Irish Musel, not Musial like Stan Musial, but Musel. And he had a brother named Bob who played for the Yankees. And both Bob and Irish played in 2 World Series against each other right around this time frame. So he was a star for the Giants. His brother was a star for the Yankees. And they were both in the mid-20s, the talk of the town in New York. So Emil or Irish Musel is not an insignificant player historically. So when I picked up this card, I picked it up because of that connection. And I do have some Bob Musel cards, also some pre-war stuff, because he's a Yankee and I collect Yankees. So nice card.
Who was better?
I think Bob ultimately had a longer career. Irish kind of started to be a star late, and then he had like 4 or 5 really good years, and then he kind of faded quickly in like his mid-30s. But at this point, well, 23, but we'll talk about it's even 25. He was still a star, so he would be the kind of player who would be in this set. And like I said, it's 30 cards, and nearly half of them are Hall of Famers. So they did a pretty good job of picking out some players, but some players a little mysterious. So this is the back of it, and this is kind of important. If you got 30 cards together and sent it in to Maple Crispette, they would send you a ball or a bat or a glove. And it says, send us a set of baseball players or assorted with hockey player cards from 1 to 30, and we will send you any one of the above illustrated articles free. So you got a baseball card or I'm sorry, a baseball, a bat, or a glove. If you got all 30, but of course we know it was rigged because Casey Stengel was not printed or printed very, very infrequently.
So they were sequential numbers. You had to have 1 to 30. Right. Thus is what they say. You can also include the hockey cards. Now, we know for a fact, we can move on if you want to the next picture, and I don't know if it lines up to what we want.
This is the question, right? So the question for baseball is it 23 or 25? And for years it was thought to be 23, and a lot of it is because of these particular things. Jesse Barnes is listed as being on the Giants, which he was in 23, but by 25 he was on the Boston Braves. He was traded, in fact, in the middle of the 23 season. Lee Fall, who was a manager, was the manager of the St. Louis Browns in 23, and on the card he's with St. Louis. By 25, he was managing the Boston Red Sox. He had been fired from the Browns during the 23 season. Cozy Dolan, who was a weird situation, was out of baseball for a while, played for the Giants in 1922, did not play for anyone in 23, and by 25 was completely out of baseball. Casey Stengel, who we talked about just a second ago, was on the Giants in 1923, but by 25 was on the Braves. And Bill Wamsgans, that's famous for the unassisted triple play in the 1920 World Series with Cleveland, was still on Cleveland in 23, but by 25 had moved on to the Boston Red Sox. So if you were going to be dating it just on who's on what teams, you would say 23. But we know, because of this, where it says hockey cards, hockey player cards, that the hockey cards couldn't possibly have been in 1923 because of stuff like this. So tell us about Norman Hec Norman Hec Fowler.
Yeah, Hec Fowler. So if you look at his record there, and I made sure that I put in red, he only played 1 year, 1924-25. Now, we can go through all the players. I actually just chose the Boston Bruin players. In 1924 and 25, Boston and Montreal Maroons, out of the 6 teams that were in the NHL, those were 2 new teams. So the hockey cards have to be 1924-25. Now, there's more examples there if you want to go through them.
Then there's Fern Headley, who also played for Boston in 24-25. Now, is this because Boston is a brand new team, so they're pulling players from various teams around the country?
I think they're trying to fortify somewhat of a team. It's funny, they only stayed for a short period of time, so they just filled it up, and then they kind of made trades and did what they could do, I guess, at that time period. I remember, it was a very short season back then. I think there was only 30 games, 40 games, not even.
Yeah, he only played 16 games for Boston. There's 30 games for Calgary later on. But that's
okay. So but Calgary's another team in a Western Division. But
right.
He is the NHL there. Yes, yeah. You can see it's the WCHL. Yes.
And then we got Lloyd Cook, who also playing for Boston.
Yep. Brother of Bun Cook.
Yeah. So those are 3 players, and you've said there's more in the set that can make.
I stopped after 4 or 5. Yeah. I just went, that's enough. And they all have just the 1 year. Now, happenstance out of 30 cards. I could have went through them all. You're going to hit, and they're only 1 year, so that confirms that the hockey is 24-25. Confirms nothing else except that. So we can go forward with that and say, okay, with the baseball, it does state on the back, as you said. You can do 1 to 30 cards. You can also include the hockey if you need fillers. So they have to be issued both at the same time. They wouldn't do it a year or two after or before.
Or the baseball, or because the seasons of the games don't line up. The hockey is more of a sort of winter sport that goes from the end of 24 to early 25. Baseball be coming out in the spring. The baseball set probably came out afterwards, which is why they allowed kids or whoever to send in hockey cards also to make up the 30. So that would make sense that it would be afterwards.
Yeah, and the season is shorter back then, correct? How many games would there be at that point? 80? 100?
Baseball? No, 100, 154.
Oh, back
in
1920?
Back then. Yeah, 154.
And it's only 180 now, something?
It's 162 now.
Oh, it's 162. So they didn't go up too much. Where hockey, I guess back in that time, 30 games. Now we're at 82. So
yeah,
we went up dramatically with hockey. So gotcha.
Yeah, it's a tough sport too. Baseball, I mean, you can play 162 games. You can play, 2 games in one day even. So what I did want to do, let me see if I can do this right. Well,
we did have one more person, I think. Was it New Zealand?
Yeah. We're gonna. Oh no, that's it on the.
You want to save that one?
There's this
on the
cards. Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Oh, this one.
So we know there is more.
This one
will include New Zealand lawn. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the name.
So New Zealand lawn. Yep. Eduardo was his first name. His real first name. And he's in the 1910 sets. In the very first set, C56. He's probably one of the top tiered players. By this time, he's getting a little older. He's playing in the Western Canadian League, as we can see, if you read that information. So there's no reason for him to be in this set, unless, well, the only thing I can really come up with or surmise is that he was one of the good old boys. And let's just throw Newsy in this set. He might have been, I don't know, talking to some of the players, maybe educating them, maybe giving them tips or, coaching tips or what have you. He could have been doing stuff like that, but that would be over the phone because Western Canada and Montreal, there's a big difference between space there. So I just think he got included. And very much like some of the baseball that shouldn't be there, they're there. And he's here. So a very strange card indeed.
Yeah, and there's no team listed for him, which is interesting. Just his name.
Yeah, there's Edmonton.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's no team. Yeah, just his name on the bottom of the card. Yes, correct. Of course, there's no team because it's not even part of the NHL. Yeah.
So
very unusual.
So it's not back in that time frame in baseball. It was not uncommon for players who were legacy players to be in the set, and I'm thinking particularly of the 33 Gowdy set, which has several retired players in it, including Tris Speaker, Eddie Collins, and what's his name, Nap Lajoie, which interestingly enough is also a card that they never really issued. It's kind of a motivation for kids to keep buying. And I think
that's the current mind of the collector is still there. Like if the season ends and your guy retires, you still know him for another 10 years. He was the best. He was, so that carries a lot of weight going forward, especially if they're superstars.
Yep.
Which Newsy was. So
Newsy Lalonde. Love the name. Anyway, so let me just go back. So you have an error card in the hockey set.
Yep.
What's
Duncan
the
Monroe.
They misspelled captain?
Yeah, captain was an O. And then
that's an O.
Wanted to make it a C. Yes. So there is many that are corrected, partially corrected. So we know they went through at least a correction or another print run. And I think these were very popular at that time period. But then again, Maple Crispette is not doing so well financially. And maybe this was the hockey and the baseball were scheduled to be their saving grace, I guess, at this point. Because if they're not doing well in business, this is one of the great things, promotional items that actually help support their sales and sometimes drive them right through the roof. So they latched on to what was going on in the industry at that time with sports cards. A lot of companies, and they were getting the sales. So they lost a lot of the sales. You have to understand they're selling a 5-cent, what is it, Maple Crispette, the little satchel with card or whatever's in there. Where most of the gum companies are getting a card and gum for 1 cent. So it's tough competition. Because if a kid has a choice, he's going to buy 5 cards because he wants to build his set. That 5 cents per would cost you a lot, and that's a lot of money, I guess, back then. If 1 cent and 1 gum is 1 cent, one card and one piece of gum is 1 cent. You could do really well as a kid, opposed to 5 cents each. Like, yeah, you're getting popcorn, but I mean, every time. Gum you can chew anytime. Popcorn's like not every day kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think it should be every day.
But it actually has nutritional value, whereas gum you're just chewing. There's really no nutritional value. Anyway, let me
keeps us busy.
Before we get to the sad end of the Maple Crispette company, let me just show off a couple of show my screen here for a couple of things. One is this, which should come up. Yeah, there it is. This is the TCDB, has a very nice page, and I'll link to it with the complete set listing. It's got pictures.
The 1923
set, and it says 1923, Bobby. But we'll get to something a little in a second. That's a little bit better. But anyway, so this is actually a pretty good resource, other than the 1923 part. And interestingly enough, there is an error card also in the baseball set. Ivy Wingo has his name spelled wrong. And also, there's no space between his names. So I guess I don't have the card, but as you know, I only have the, what's his name, Musel.
It's funny how they screwed up on Ivy and not Wingo. You would think Wingo would be the tough name than the Ivy, but they spelled Ivy wrong.
This Jim Bottomley's a Hall of Famer. Bucky Harris is a Hall of Famer. He was the manager. There's Ty Cobb. I mean, it's a good set. But again, card number 30, Walter Johnson, card number 8, Babe Ruth, and card number 22, Ty Cobb, are going to be prohibitively expensive. But we'll see. I'm going to the National, and I expect to hopefully maybe see one of these cards. But we'll see. Let me do one more thing here. I want to share screen again, and it's going to be this right here. Can you see that? Yep. Mm-hmm. So PSA, to their credit, now has on their website it listed as 1925 Maple Crispette, even though the flip on the card here, the Babe Ruth card, still has 23 because it's an old flip, as does mine. But they updated their website, so good for them, and good for you.
You're welcome. Well, I was the driving force behind that. So
yes. So that's
However,
cool.
There was an article a while ago, so it should have rectified things, but things
should have
come and go rather slow. Yeah, I had a friend back in 2000 and what was that? I guess in the early 2000s. I had mentioned to him, he was Maple Crispette. He contacted me. I think I sold one of the baseballs, and he said, "Do you have any, other baseball ones for Maple Crispette?" He said the 23, and I said, "I don't think it's 1923. I think it's 1924 because it says after the hockey. The hockey's this year." And so I went through the whole thing, and he goes, "Wow!" And then he wrote an article, Old Cardboard. It was a great magazine. In about 2006, I think he wrote that article. My friend's name was Aaron Eichelkraut. Tough. It doesn't roll off the tongue, but that's his name. And he wrote a wonderful article on the Maple Crispette and changed the date. But it really didn't hold much water back in 2006 because we're still new. It took how many years it took PSA. SGC's got to catch up. Trading Card Database has to catch. A lot of places have to catch up. But it is 1925. It has to be. It can only be. Whether the players are current or not. It's that's when the set was issued.
I think that I am convinced of that. Even though, like I said, I did my research to try to give you some flies to swat, and
It was good.
You know, my theory is that my new theory is that it was 1923 and it was Canada, so it took them 2 years to get the baseball box scores. So
we're always behind here, you know. Maybe it was the dollar difference. I don't know, you know, something like that.
We couldn't get through a half an hour without me making a Canada joke. But anyway, so Maple Crispette, the company is having financial issues at this point. So what happens not long after this, the baseball and the hockey set?
Well, Maple Crispette went through some hard times. Obviously, they were trying to compete maybe with the gum industry, maybe with the other candy companies. And this last throw was putting out these sets. I think it was a saving grace for them, as I said before. But what did happen is they did go into receivership. And that was 1925 in about, probably, it starts happening about May, I would say, or even April. The wind down order came in July. And then they were bought out by a company that what were they called? Leone, I think it was, and he was the what do you call that? Someone who takes over for the wind down. You're a lawyer.
Receivership.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think
he took over.
The receiver. Okay.
No, yeah, he
master.
took over for.
Right.
Yeah, I forget the certain phrase. Any which way, and from there, one company stepped in and bought out the balance of the Maple Crispette company, and that company was called OPG, the gum company.
Yes.
So
and we will someday hopefully talk about OPG on this channel with you.
Oh, no problem.
So I guess there is an epilogue to this where one of the Epstein brothers starts up another company and then starts using were there two different companies, right? It was like Maple Crispette and Molasses Crisp or something like that.
Yeah, Molasses Crisp came in. That was run by two names you don't want to really hear together. It's Adolf Epstein. And his brother, I think it's his brother, maybe his cousin, I don't know, is MJ Epstein, who ran the Maple Crispette business. And Epstein, Adolf, ran the Molasses Crispette. Although Adolf of Molasses Crispette, he was a board member on the Maple Crispette. And there's a lot of things that are going on around that time, but we'll kind of we'll skip by that and just say that he was there. I think because it was his brother, I think there was a fight between the two because he was also doing popcorn and all the other same things. It's almost like two brothers going at it,
yeah,
so to speak.
Well,
I'm assuming they're brothers. It's hard to find that information. Yeah, it's hard digging back. I go through the old newspaper archives and you try to find little bits and pieces of information, but it's very difficult to find a tie-in between them. And there's nobody left over from the history. Companies been bought and sold, 50 times over, and all that information, unfortunately, falls into a wastebasket somewhere. So.
Well, I like that we ended with O-Pee-Chee taking over because that's sort of the gateway to cards, going into the 30s. I mean, O-Pee-Chee started themselves putting out cards in the 30s. So as far as I know, baseball-wise, they put out cards in the 30s.
Yeah. I think they did something in the late 20s, but...
Okay.
Other cards, not baseball, but other sports.
I titled this video, Unraveling the Mystery of the Maple Crispettes. So I feel like we unraveled the mystery. I gave you some tough information, and you swatted it away, and you have proven to me and our viewers that 1925 is the year. And it is a fascinating thing to go back and deep dive into something like just one set. And I really appreciate you, Bobby, coming on. And we've talked throughout the week and going back a couple of weeks about this. And I do appreciate you taking your time to not only spend time, on camera, but also behind the scenes, giving me all sorts of information and stuff. But that's what you do. You're an information guy. You're an expert, and you're a great resource for the hobby. And I really appreciate you taking time for this.
Sure. I'd like to sum up one thing with the hockey coming out. I'm sure they released it somewhere in February, March, April. Traditionally, most sets that run like this run about 3 to 4 months. If they have a redemption, a little bit longer. So if we think or consider that baseball was released in May, like April, are they ready in April with the cards? I don't really know. April, May. So you got to take it 3 months. So June, July, August. So when O-Pee-Chee taking over, was O-Pee-Chee doing the redemptions? Did the redemptions stop? These are the unanswered questions that we really want. So I think the baseball fell on deaf ears. The funny part is I think there's twice as many hockey graded. I think there's 830 and there's 400 baseball, which is kind of surprising because we only have 9 Hall of Famers where you guys have 14 Hall of Famers. Maybe it's just the amount of cards that were found. So I would think that there's less cards around of the baseball. I would assume that there is, just on the fact that I think the contest ended. I don't think O-Pee-Chee picked up and did the replacement or did the offering for the baseball or the skates at that point. I think it was all finished and they just wound up.
That's actually a great point. That fewer baseball were probably printed because the company was going under, and the and the redemption was probably going south. So, a great point. But anyway, I do appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us and providing us with all this information. So really do appreciate it. So viewers, this is going to air on Saturday morning. Next Saturday, I will not have a show because I'm going to be participating quite a bit in Hobbypalooza on For Collectors, including having a community service show on Sunday, appearing on another show, maybe behind the scenes I'm producing for a little while, so it's going to be a little crazy weekend for me. So no new video next week on Dan's Vintage Baseball PC, but plenty of things to see on For Collectors. So, and I know, Bobby, you will be on Friday night with Carlos.
Yep.
On the show that will go as long as you want to go.
As long as Carlos wants to go, yes, I think we will go that far. Yeah, it'll be into the early morning, for sure.
We have given Carlos the keys to the car, so you guys are going to be out, joyriding.
Driving off the cliff, yes. It'll be midnight and beyond, for sure. But we like to hang out and talk. The hobby's a great place to have friends, and it's fun to talk shop. And if you have a lot to talk about, a lot of experience, even if you don't, it's just fun chatting and keeping the hobby a healthy part of your life away from stress of other things. It's a nice something to fall back on.
I like to participate because I think the show is hilarious, and it's really a great balance because you're like the older voice of reason. Eric is like, also a little bit older, but sort of, he has the thing back and forth with Carlos. And Carlos is a very bright, well-spoken man who has opinions. So it's a nice little little wraparound there. So anyway, Hobbypalooza will be July 18th to the 20th. So you guys are on Friday the 18th. I know I'm on the 20th. And we'll see if I can make it onto some other shows. If people are going to get sick of seeing my face, but anyway. So, all right, Bobby, I'm going to end the recording. Thank you again, and hopefully we'll be able to do another one of these in pretty short.